And welcome back to the danger zone that is 11.3. Today we are flying out the F1CT versus the Tomcat Horde. And this plane together with the F1C, which are right now basically the same vehicle, as they share the same flight model in the files. This thing however has one less DEFA, as well as less payload options. Not sure how that happened to be, but it is what it is. The two Mirage F1s have been changed quite a bit since they have been introduced into the game. And it's an entirely different aircraft now. You got different missiles essentially, you got a different engine, as well as a different flight model. It is stiffer, but it has more power. And the problem with this is you are still only going 351 kilometers an hour before you risk ripping your wings off, putting you slower than a MiG-21 bis. And being outrun by 21 bis in this thing is not a fun experience. This thing, if you get caught, you are essentially dead. Luckily, you have a set of fantastic missiles, the Magic 2s, which have been improved since the Danger Zone update. They are now quicker to accelerate, they track quicker off the rails, and they pull a hell of a lot harder. Probably the best conventional air-to-air IR missile that we have in the game right now. They are very flare resistant, they pull extremely hard, they are basically what you used to expect from them, but they are now even better. And then you have the 530F Super, which is actually usable now. We are on Pulse Doppler, we lock him up, he starts notching us, we switch back to the normal one, and it still manages to track. Before, if people notched you, even if they didn't notch the radar, the missile wouldn't hit. And even if they wouldn't even notch the missile very often wouldn't hit. So to summarize everything from best to worst, you got amazing IR missiles, you got decent SRH missiles, you got pretty decent power, you got subpar maneuverability, and even if you had both of the DEFAs, you still have abysmal firepower. But it is what it is. Not sure why this thing is 11.3 when planes like the Viggen are at 11.0. But you know, what can you do about it? Compression is a bitch. So starting off here, I'm trying to notch the entire battlefield, or at least most of it. And what do we find at medium altitude? It's another F-14 ejaculating all his phoenixes all over the place. And if they ever add the buck missiles, maybe we start having some bukakis in this game. So we lock him up in MTI mode. He's kind of notching us right now, but not really yet. So we just shoot a missile at him. He then starts to actually notch us. He turns to the left, breaks our lock, and what we are going to do yet again, we switch to the normal radar mode, we lock him up, and because we are below him and he's at pretty high altitude, we can simply just track him with the regular radar. He didn't chaff, so down goes the F-14. And that's going to be the first kill of the match. And those are the kind of kills that the 530Fs are pretty decent for. They're still not amazing, they're pretty easy to defeat. But if you find the Tomcat that's just kind of enjoying his time up there, trying to lock people up across the map, not looking at his RWR, then yes, you'll probably manage to slam a few. We get locked by RWR from the front, the entire enemy team is in the middle of the map, so I'm not going to fly in there on my own. Instead, I'm going to turn around, make the missile go cold, which I know sounds kind of counterintuitive, but for radar missiles we respect is cold. And by doing so, we are going to try to guide this F-14 into our team, because if you see the scoreboard in a second here, take a good look at it, because it's looking pretty terrible for us right now. Our team is completely gone. F-14 is chasing me and he's not looking at anything else. So Razor here is going to load up a 530E, which is the IR variant, and he slams that F-14 from basically the head on. Pretty obsolete missile, but it seems to be buffed as well. It pulls a lot more, and if you are playing the normal F1C, I recommend you to run that one in the center pylon. It's going to have a fifth missile, which might come in handy here and there. As of right now, there's a lot of guys in the middle of the map, and we need to start killing some guys here before they all start grouping up and they turn into a massive furball, because then the F1s are just going to be at a very severe disadvantage, and it's something I don't really want to deal with. Luckily, the F4E there rips, another F-14 rips, and here comes the F-4J. We're going to lock him up and try to slam him in the head on, but he turns in kind of weirdly. He doesn't want to take the head on, and we don't get a solid tone, and when we started getting a tone, he was simply too close. F-4J then takes down the F-4J that we were just dealing with, and we have some breathing room now. The teams are somewhat equalized because two of them just managed to crash, and we now have to deal with an F-4J as well as a Tomcat, and then another F-4E that's all the way in the back. So we're going to lock up the F-4E, we're going to shoot a 530 at him. We start notching the Tomcat, we then notice that it's a Phoenix, so I'm not really worried about that hitting, so we maintain the lock on the F4E, down he goes, and then we just dodge the F4J for a little bit. And we are a lot faster than the F4J right now, so we're just going to use this time to get away from him, because at medium to close distance he is not much of a threat, because the AIM-9Gs are not that dangerous within 1.3, 1.4 kilometers, so I'm not too worried about him slamming those missiles at us. Another F-14 manages to take his wings off. F4J then gets someone shooting on his 6, he breaks off for a second, giving us a little bit of an ability to turn back in here, and we're gonna try to dogfight a little bit. And I want you to notice just how quickly he gains position on us. He starts spraying at us. Luckily the gunport is mounted pretty low, and instead of actually prolonging this fight, I'm gonna drag him straight for the F4J behind us. He dodged the missiles. I think, looking back at the thing, actually, I think he got hit by it. I didn't notice in the game. We're gonna turn back around here. At this point I think he's not actually damaged, he's just pretty slow. He had to do some dodges, and we are just gonna close the gap here. So we shoot a missile at him. Is he gonna be dodging that one? The answer is yes, he actually manages to do so, but at this point he's very slow, and we are just gonna hold the trigger down. Down goes the dynamite. Looking back at the replay, I think I actually stole that one. I'm sorry if I did, but all things considered, it's still pretty good representation of this vehicle. And here comes another one. We are a little bit on the outskirts yet again. I don't want to be the first one in. You want to stay with your team at all times. We are at a medium altitude, 2.5 kilometers. Makes it so that we have a little bit of altitude to work with, but we can also pitch up to other people that are at a higher altitude, making them very prime targets for the 530F. So starting off here, we have the pulse Doppler mode running. I see an F4E, and we're gonna lock him up because he's flying right at us. And the second we get a lock, we start warming up the missile. He notches our radar by accident, probably because he is not paying attention to this missile at all. So we switch to the regular radar mode, tracks him right in. He's very busy trying to shoot someone else, and down he goes. I'm gonna turn the ACM mode on again, just because it makes it a lot easier to lock people in the head-on. We load up a 530F again. We launch it at him. I don't think it proxied, but no big deal. We're gonna carry on from this head-on, no use to turn around, and we're gonna go try and help out the MiG-23 over there. He has a lot of Maverick enjoyers around him, all spamming Phoenixes around, and I noticed that the F4J is on the MiG-23. So I'm just gonna lock him up. I'm not really worried about the missile going for the MiG-23 because the F4J is a hotter target and it's only an MF, not an MLD. So for right now I can't really turn around instantly. We have an F-14 diving on us, so we're gonna use the terrain and go below him. If he tries to follow that, he will surely slam right into the ground. He doesn't do it, he doesn't take it. Pretty sure he ripped something off. I saw some debris flying through the air. Maybe he got hit, I don't know. But the F-14 dies right thereafter. We're gonna turn around, we're gonna make another long pass to swoop across the battlefield. And the game is already pretty far. And you can tell that these games are gonna last pretty short because I got 3 full games for you today and the video is barely 10 minutes. But right now Razor needs some help. He's 14 kilometers away, he's dogfighting an F5E in his Mirage and it's not going very well. He has about 10 to 15 seconds here before he actually starts dying. So I'm gonna prime my missile. I'm closing the gap as quickly as I can. Want to make sure that I don't rip my wings off, check my 6, and I'm telling Razor, drop your throttle, make yourself as cold as possible. We wait for the lock to go for the F5, look at that missile go, boom, instantly there, save Razor, and on our merry way we are. F-14 here, right ahead of us, going very, very slow, make sure that we don't get third party. He's going extremely slow, and this is just... Yes, my aim is horrible, but man, these DEFAs suck balls, and it's not only the damage, it's the ballistics, it's the damage, it's the volume of fire, and with this thing, you only got one of them, which makes, well, your life a lot less enjoyable. So we start chasing down the EJ here. He is focusing on the J35, he is not looking behind himself, he is completely yellow, he's imitating SpongeBob or something, so we just hold the trigger down, we crit him, and as happens in top tier, I mean, he's not really dead, so I can't really color the steel. But I'm gonna color the steel anyway, because that gets more comments down below. There we go, that's game number 1. Game number 2. We lock up an F-14. I'm gonna wait to fire. I'm waiting for full lock, as well as I was expecting multiple people that are ahead of me to slam him before my missile would even get there. So we save a missile in that regard. And then we lock up the F-14, and I thought he was turning into us. He was not, so we waste the missile we just saved. But at least we still have another one left. F4J here coming head on with us. I can't really get a good lock in, so I'm not gonna fire it. Instead I'm gonna pull some lead, hold the trigger down, and we manage to get a crit in. We take his wingtip off and he goes into a flat spin and is going to down him pretty easily. That's probably the most damage I've gotten from a DEFA in a while. And no, that Discord notification wasn't you. We turn back in, there's an F-14 right ahead of us. But hey, He is not going to be doing much. The game is borderline over at this point. We're just going to see if we can manage to sneak one in. But he manages to turn just the right way. He's going to bleed the missile of its speed. And it's just a little bit too far away. Look how close that is, however. But we're just going to close the gap now. We are catching him pretty quickly. So we shoot another magic at him, this time at 1.7. He's not going that fast. So that should hit him pretty reliable. Even though he was flaring and everything. Here's some more amazing death damage. And that's all I have for you today. Hope you enjoyed it. See you in the next one.